Oh, really? They're not going to be in here? They really don't care. We could say anything.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Whaley Podcast.
Welcome.
Today it's Esther and I. Do you know that I feel like I've been in front of a camera more in this month than I ever have in my entire life?
Yeah, I 100% have been in front of a camera way more than I've ever been in this last month. Yes.
Yeah, I know. And I think I was wearing the same thing last week when I was in the front of the camera playing our game Among Us.
That's all right.
That was great fun. I enjoyed that.
Fun.
I thought it was funny that you and I were actually playing that game because we're not the game players.
I'm getting into it though, hey? I really enjoy that game. And at the beginning I was like, I don't like this game just because I was crap at it. But
Okay.
And I'm still pretty crap at it. But at least now I kind of like get it. And I'm actually winning a little bit here and there. So it gives me a bit of an incentive to actually try.
Talk about being crap. Did you see me?
It was hilarious.
I just went around and around and around and I couldn't get my finger to work. It was really funny.
I just watched the clip back and you were like just like running around the cafeteria in circles.
I was trying to learn how to
get out the
how to
door.
move that little button thing.
It was funny.
I still never got used to it.
No.
But I enjoyed it. The problem is that we can't get online at home because our internet's so terrible at the moment with all the rain. So, but I'm looking forward to having another game. It was good fun. It was nice to be in the family again to play a game.
It was really fun.
I enjoyed that. We did a lot of that when we were much younger and we had more time.
Yeah.
And it was nice to just do it again and have little memories. That was good. Yeah.
It was fun.
So, Esther, we don't get much time to sit and chat.
We don't.
And
You'd
it's
think
so
we'd get
nice
more.
that the kids are not here. None of the kids, my kids
know.
or yours. And here we are, left alone, just to have a chat. And it's
say
just
anything we
wonderful.
want.
We can say anything. So you said that you had some questions for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think let's just kick off with those and see where we land up.
So you mentioned Jaden was talking about your previous podcast with Dad, which I really enjoyed, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
And it was really amazing to see your life kind of mapped out. I mean, obviously, that's a very brief summary of your life. Life is a little more complicated than that. But literally, I mean, in a summary, it's quite amazing because you just get event. And you're just like, whoa, that's a lot of events. That's a lot of stuff happening. And I'm sure, as with most of life, when you're in it, you just kind of do it and go with it and get through it because that's what you have to do. Especially in your situation, there was a lot of kind of like survival situations, as in not that you were dying, but you had to go from this house, then you had to go to this country, and you weren't allowed to bring the money, and so you had to get this job, and it was very much, you had to just like get on with it and make do. But I was wondering, during that time, because how, were you in your 30s during that time?
We started our first move from Zimbabwe to South Africa when I was 25.
Okay, so you were pretty young.
25.
Okay.
And we actually went to Zimbabwe and we went to South Africa, back to Zimbabwe for Bible school for a year and a half. Tried to stay and they wouldn't let us, even though I was born there. And then back to South Africa again. So there was 2 moves in that time before we had Jaden.
Wow.
So yeah, we did a lot of moving. And it was an interesting thing when you talked about, just laid out in events.
Yeah.
I don't think Dad and I have ever done this before. We've never sort of looked at it just for what it is.
Yeah.
And when we'd finished, we both talked about it afterwards, and we both said, wow, we did a lot of starting again.
Yeah.
We did a lot of having to grit our teeth and push through again and again. And we never realized that. Even though we had done it, we didn't realize that that had been what we had done.
I think that's why, I mean, in the Bible, God says to the Israelites so many times, remember. And they had like 1 million celebrations. Not 1 million, that's an exaggeration, but they had many celebrations at each event when they came out of Israel. I mean, wow, I know my Bible really well. Egypt, when they had the Passover, all the amazing things that God saved them from and took them through. they made a point to turn those into an occasion and a celebration in the future. And I think that's what, like, remembering is really powerful. When you actually sit down, either making it, either set a date like an anniversary, or it could be anything, and you celebrate it, but even just sitting down and, like, thinking about it in chronological order of the things that have gone on and talking about it, I think there's real case for celebrating the things that we've come through.
The things that we've survived.
Yeah, because we have, and God's brought us through those things. Because Seamus and I was watching this video on YouTube about marriage, and there was an older couple, and they made the point that it's really important to celebrate the different little romantic milestones, like anniversaries and things. And I think sometimes, like, I don't know, when it comes to marriage, just as a kind of like a parallel, like celebrating marriage, we can sometimes poo-poo, like, Valentine's Day and different things, but like, that couple on that YouTube channel were really amazing, and they made a very specific point to celebrate and remember their little milestones and the different things in their lives. And I thought, it's actually very biblical to look back and to commemorate the things that you've achieved. It's not just, of course, if it becomes a dead thing, we just do this now because it's a tradition. That's one thing. Yeah. But to look back and remember and to celebrate your journey, I think, is really important. I think there's...
Yeah, no, we enjoyed mapping it up the way we did, because we've never done that before. And the guys had just said, can you document what you've done in its order, so that they've got things to look back on and for the kids, We've never really celebrated anniversaries. To be honest, and it's just us here, I don't even remember my anniversary date. But then I look back and I think of our lives and all the things that we've jammed into, as Dad says, we've had 4 lifetimes. We've got so many memories. We've got so many things that we look back on that neither of us have really missed that. Every now and then when we remember, we'll celebrate. There was one year my mum came to Keith and she said to him, "You need to take Nikki out for dinner." And he said, "Why?" She's never said that to me before. Why would she be saying that to me? She said, "No, today's a special day. You should be taking her out for dinner." And he said, "Mum, what are you talking about? Why must I take Nick out for dinner?" She said, "Well, at least take her out for coffee." He said, "Why?" She said, "Do you know what today is?" And he went, "Saturday?" And she said to him, "You're in Egypt." She said, "It's your anniversary." He said, "Is it?" So he went and had a look. Came down the passage to me. I was in the bedroom packing clothes away and things. And he said to me, "Come," he says, go get some shoes on." He says, "Let's go out and have coffee." So I turned and I said, "Why? Why do you want to go and have coffee? We can have coffee at home." He said, "No." He said, "Let's go out and have coffee." And he was acting all weird as well. And I couldn't understand. Anyway, we get in the car and we're going out. And I'm saying, "Why are we going out for coffee?" And on the way, he said, "By the way, happy anniversary." Neither of us remembered. Wasn't a big deal. It really wasn't a big deal. So that's a memory for us now, that my mum remembered for us. That was
the only reason I bring up marriage is because it kind of reminded me of a parallel. Like, you're looking back and you're remembering. It's like, wow, like, you should almost come up with celebrations for your life. Like, every year on this date we celebrate. This is the day that we left South Africa, and because that's what God did with the children of Israel. It's like, this is the day I brought you out of this. So every year we have a big feast and we dance and we sing.
I think it's important. I think it's important.
So the only thing I could think of that's kind of similar is the marriage celebrations that you have. Now, if you do those things under pressure, or under I have to, and it's not a genuinely an enjoyed excuse to celebrate your love, well, of course, that doesn't mean anything. Yeah. So, but
there's so many oughties in our lives. It's nice to have it's those things.
Yeah, it's important to remember. And I think I really enjoyed listening to your chat, because I was like, wow, look at what they've done together. Like, I came away from it going, man, they must be really proud of that. That's really amazing. And not only that, it's such an amazing example to all of us how to push through, how to you know, in comparison, our lives now are so much easier. Like we've moved countries and stuff, but we haven't we've had a lot of opportunity, and I think it's really good to look back and go, hey, look what they did. We can do this. You know, it's just that encouragement and that reminder that even if we think we're having a hard time, the truth is you can always look to someone that's had a worse time and go, hey, I can do it. You know, it's important to have those stories and that legacy, and I think it builds. It gives us fortitude.
I mean, you think of that as a hard time. For us, it wasn't a hard time in it.
That was normal.
You know? I look back and I think, wow, did we do all of that? But it wasn't that difficult in that when we were that age and we were doing it.
Is that because at the time that was normal for you? That was life. Why was that not difficult?
Looking back, I think when you're younger, you don't know as much as when you're older. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And you don't have as much experience. You haven't knocked your head as much.
Yeah.
So therefore, I think you lack some wisdom.
Yeah. A bit stupid.
And to be honest, when we moved from Zimbabwe with a 4-week-old baby and a 17-month-old baby, that was pretty stupid. And we didn't even know where we were going. And had my mom and dad told me, I can't remember. Maybe I didn't hear. I don't remember. But I look back now and I think, you were stupid. You know, you should have waited for a year. You should have gone before the babies came. There were other decisions we could have made. But we just did it. And it was hard. And it left scars, you know. It left scars. I was just telling somebody yesterday, we arrived in South Africa. First time I'd ever left my home, left my family. Really green, because I was a really green girl. And we get down there, and the first thing I watch we went to a hotel. The company put us up in a hotel. And first time to be without my mum and to have these 2 babies, because she was always there with me. And the first thing I see on television that night is Spot Your Mate. They used to call it Crime Watch.
Okay.
These people had escaped, and they're at large, and they're very dangerous, and don't approach them if you see them. That was the first thing that I watched on television, with 2 tiny babies, hormones all over the place. And the next morning we woke up, and hubby goes off to work, and I wouldn't know what direction he went to. I didn't know where town was. I was just stuck in this hotel. And that afternoon, or maybe the next day, there was some noise happening in the passage, and I hadn't left the room. And I opened the door, and there's a naked man standing there in the passageway. Wow. And I looked at him, and I just quickly closed the door again, looked at my babies, thought of Crime Watch, and I thought, where has he taken me? I'm in the Wild West. It was so frightening. And, you know, that's a stupid time to move and see those things. I mean, I could handle all of that now, but in those days, no. It was, you know, all those little things that take place, it was tough.
Also, though, when you're on your own with babies, you do feel doubly a bit vulnerable.
Yeah, I felt very vulnerable, very vulnerable. And then like Sean was still taking a bottle, and he just refused to take any food at all. He just went straight back to just a bottle. And that made me worry. You know? And we didn't have the finance. We never had finance. We didn't have the finance to phone home and find out what was going on, or we didn't have internet to be able to Google.
No Uncle
anything.
Google.
No Uncle
Back
Google.
then.
Yeah, it was very. I felt very isolated. But as you said, that's your choice. That's what you've done. You push through. You make it happen.
Is there anything that you now would tell that girl back then?
Oh, to grow up. Yes, definitely.
In what way? Because I hear the story and I go, wow, she was pretty mature.
Really?
That's a big leap. Of course, because it's like, look what you were doing.
No, I've told you so many times, I did some really doff things. And I think children are the making of you.
Yeah.
Actually. You'd have to agree, hey?
I would 100% agree.
I would get, I've told you the story before. My mum would send me to the fridge to get the butter. And I'd open the fridge and live in la la land for an hour. And by the time I got back to the table, forgetting what I was asked to get, the table was cleared and everyone had left and it was all over. And I'd been daydreaming for an hour in the fridge, just staring and talking to the butter or whatever I was doing. And I think that's how I went into motherhood.
Mm.
I had a rude awakening.
But I mean, in that time, while you're in the hotel, while you're moving countries, what would you tell yourself now?
Not to do that.
Okay.
Actually.
What are you doing?
I would have said, stay at home for another year. Give yourself some time. Give yourself some grace. Let your mum be close to you so she can help you for that first year with the babies. And Seamus had a lot of allergies and things that we didn't know about. We didn't understand it. And there I was on my own trying to cope with all of that.
Mm.
And it was, you just want to run at life, and you're just a bit stupid.
It's like an urgency when there doesn't need to be.
I mean, the country was in the situation that it was in. We had to make plans. We had to take care of our kids, but we weren't wise with those choices. We could have made those choices in an easier manner.
So you feel you could have waited a little bit?
Probably, yeah. I'm sure we could have. We could have at least waited 6 months.
Yeah.
And just got over the hormonal dramas and all of that, which I really struggled with, by the way. I had 4 years of major hormone imbalances. Well, I think I still do, but...
I think we all do. Yeah. I think being female makes you unbalanced. But yes, I know you've talked about it. There were legitimate issues.
So, I think if I was to go back again, I would probably be a little bit slower at life and a little bit more measured. I would have got a better education. I would have changed a few things like that. But I don't think I would have wanted to have changed what I've done.
Yes.
No, I don't think I would have. Even the bad things, I don't think I would want to change that. I've really enjoyed my life, actually. I've had a very full life. I've had lots of different experiences in different situations, done different jobs, and learned so much. I don't think I'd want to change any of that, really.
Mm. How long are you in a hotel?
We were in that hotel for 6 weeks.
Now, what did you... Because I think of that, and it makes me want to go crazy. Because you're not at home, so you can't do anything. You don't even have, like, a phone or... Like, what did you do all day? You've got 2 young kids in a room. Did you, like, walk them up and down? Like, what did you do all day? That sounds crazy to me.
They had a little pool outside, but to take 2 babies, I was a bit wary that I could cope with both in a pool. But I did take them. And when Dad came home in the evenings, it was very hot where we were living in Nelspruit. And when he came home, we'd go to the pool together. And don't forget, babies nap. They nap all the time. So it was mainly just trying to entertain Sean, who was 17, 18 months old.
Oh, sorry. Seamus was just born.
Seamus was
little.
He was 6 weeks old.
Which is probably a saving grace in some ways.
So he basically just fed and slept.
Yes. You just entertained Sean.
So it was playing with Sean, and we would just play. Yeah, we'd run up and down the passage.
But that is trying, I'm sure, for 6 weeks.
I remember I was there for about 2 weeks, just in the room. I never went out of the room because of the crime watch and the naked man and all the rest. I stayed in my room. I would only venture out with Dad when we went down for dinner. And after, I think it was in the second week, a friend came to visit, and she said, "Let me take you out for the day. I'll come and pick you up in the car and I'll take you out." She arrived something like 10 o'clock in the morning, and at 12 o'clock, I was ready to go.
Yeah.
Just couldn't get my act together. And as soon as I'd got the baby ready, this one did a poo in the nappy, this one then threw up, this one then needed to cry, to feed. And after 2 hours, she didn't have children.
So she's like,
and after 2 hours, she said, "You know what?" She said, "I'll come back another day." And she left. So I never got to get my day out.
But I mean, to be honest, with a new
hard.
baby, a day out with a toddler is not much of a day. You must have been desperate by then, because I'm thinking to myself, I'm not sure if I would have even bothered.
No, I
But
didn't
stuck in a
after that.
hotel room, I might have.
Yeah, I really wanted to go
Shame.
out. I wanted to go and see
Yeah.
what the place was like because I hadn't had a chance yet. And it just wasn't going to happen.
Shame.
Plus I was, it was the first time to be a mum to two.
Yeah.
It's a big adjustment.
It's a big adjustment.
You know?
I think, I think you're more laid back by that point, but it's still a big jump, But with
it's
all
just
that,
learning new skills, isn't it?
yeah,
Remember bringing Isaac home.
yeah.
You were far more able with Isaac than you were with Judah because you'd done this.
And you're in a kind of in a mode of acceptance by that point too. You're like, nope, this is what having babies is. My life has stopped, or it'll happen when it can happen, and this is what it is.
Do you remember?
Pretty much. I mean, I love now having perspective on it because you go like,
Yes.
it was all okay, it was fine. In the moment, I would feel stressed, or I'd feel, this is never going to end, like very claustrophobic. And now looking back, I go, it was exactly what it was supposed to be. It was fine. It's all fine. It's like if you could keep that perspective all the way through, that this is exactly
how it's meant to be.
Okay, this is perfect. This is fine. This is good.
Isn't it a funny thing that you can say to people, I see new mummies, and I say to them, just give yourself grace. If you never get out of your dressing gown for a day or two,
matter.
it's okay.
You'll get there.
But I was the kind of person that got home, unpacked, wanted it all done. I think I've always put a lot of pressure on myself to get moving.
There's
to get
value
going.
in getting up and getting dressed because you feel better. But there are days when you need to just take the pressure off. Now, you don't want to live like that because you'll never get going again. But there's definitely, I think you really have to, this is where I think, though, knowing the Holy Spirit is very important. Because God will give you those little, like now I definitely get those nudges, like, it's okay. Today, just take the pressure off.
Yeah.
You're not under any false, because you get under false pressure. Okay, I'm a mom now. Okay, we got to get out. We got to do, this is what this is what a mom should do, whatever that is. But I mean, in that hotel room, sorry, I keep going back to this hotel room because it kind of fascinates me because I just think, oh my goodness, I think I would have been awful in this situation. But this was another time as well. So I think you would have probably been better than us at being a bit slower as well, to be honest. That's my instinct. Just because you didn't have a phone, you weren't entertained all the time.
Yes.
So I think you would have been better at just like slowing down because your life would have, not that your life was slow, but you wouldn't have relied on constant entertainment. And
that's the very good thing is that we didn't have phones, we didn't have internet, we didn't have those things. So you were pretty focused on what you had to do.
Yeah. But in that hotel, did that really, did that grow you in your relationship with God? Just being alone?
Yes. Yeah, I have very clear memories of, sounds desperate, but like crying out to God.
Yes.
And it was more to do with him being with me and me knowing that he was there than it was with anything else.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much like, help me with this or help me with this. It was like, just be with me.
Yes.
Just needed that.
I just don't want to be alone. Yeah. We're going to start crying. But I think that's huge, especially in the years with little kids. I mean, to be honest, that never changes. That only develops with time. And the challenge changes and life changes and things just kind of progress. But it's so important, I think, in those alone times or just in the times when, I think motherhood is a huge lesson in this. You're often shut away. You're often the only one knowing what you do and how you do it and what you achieve is you.
And the sacrifice you make.
Nobody knows except you and God. And I think that's why it's so necessary that you cultivate that close, intimate relationship because nobody else, your husband comes home at the end of the day and
he's tired. He wants to be loved and he wants to just chill. And
he hasn't seen anything. He hasn't seen what you've done. So even if he comes home and there's a mess, he might not know that you've cleaned up 7 times already. And no one knows what you're going through except you and God. And so it's like that's the only other person that you can truly rely on that sees you inside, outside, just, has that inner view. And it's like, so if you don't have that relationship, what have you got? You know.
I mean, I was a very new Christian at that time.
Yeah.
a very new Christian. I'd made a commitment when I was 11, but I didn't really walk in that or really understand it until it was just before I fell pregnant with Sean, actually. So for me, and it was the first time being away from home and everything, and it was the whole thing was about knowing that he was there and that he would sustain me. That was like it was actually the beginning. I get so emotional, but it's with joy.
Yeah.
For me, that was the beginning in that hotel of my intimacy with him, of actually knowing who he is and that he can sustain. That was where it started, was there.
But it's a really precious thing, because God shows you in a million little ways that he knows you.
Yeah.
It's not for someone else, it's for you. And it's an amazing thing. Like, God knows everybody, but and yet everything's for you. You know, like
That's
every
just
individual,
amazing.
he knows everyone, he's with everybody, but every single case is individual.
Yeah.
You know, and it's totally intimate, and it's totally...
Do one of these.
I'm all right for now.
I might go through
But
them all.
it's fine.
It's a funny
It's an
thing.
amazing thing.
Talking about the intimacy, I remember a few years later, we were pastoring in a church with a couple. They were leading, and we were pastoring with them. And I can remember we had no money, we had no income.
This seems to be a trend.
We did this by faith.
We had no
Again,
money.
a stupid decision. And I remember coming home the one day. I'd made pancakes. Keith and I had made pancakes for, I remember, about 300 or 500 pancakes, and we took them down to town and we sold them. And it was enough money to buy some bread and some vegetables and some fruit. And we had 2 children. And I remember walking back in and putting the stuff on the table and saying, well, God, I've provided the bread and the vegetables. Can you please bring the meat? And you talk about intimacy and knowing him, and him wanting you to know him. And he's good, and wanting you to know that he's good.
So good.
And I remember putting the stuff on the cupboard in the kitchen and saying, well, God, I've done my bit, I've worked, but I'm with you. Can you provide the meat? And we had nothing in our house. And there was a knock at the door that night. A woman stood there, and she said, I was standing in the butchery today to get my meat. And these were wealthy people, and they only ate the best. I thought, thank you, Lord, you told her.
Thank you, Lord.
And she had 2 bags, and God said to her, everything that you buy for your family, I want you to double it. And she was just obedient. She didn't know why. And when she got her bags of meat and she was walking out, he said to her, take that to the Whaleys. And so there she was at my door with this huge bag. We had fillet steaks, we had porterhouse steaks, we had spare ribs, things that we hadn't eaten for years because...
Wow.
And I looked at her, and you know, it wasn't, what came out of my mouth wasn't, oh, thank you. And that shocked me, because I was hearing something that came out of my mouth that I didn't think. And it was, bless you for your obedience. That's what I said to her. And I know that wasn't me saying it to her. Bless you for your obedience. And I took the meat, and then I said, thanks. And I went inside, and I remember putting the meat in the freezer and sliding down onto the floor and just weeping.
Yeah.
Because of the goodness of God, in that he sustains us. He sustains us.
But it's not even in that situation. I mean, God didn't just bring you some ground beef.
No. Which I would have been thrilled for.
Because he at the end of the day, he's the source. And he has only the best.
Yeah.
You know? And but that's the thing, when we rely on him, we get the best. Not just, he's not stingy.
And I think that's the thing, is that it's to learn to rely.
Yeah.
And you say our lives were difficult back there, but I think we had the wherewithal to learn how to rely, because we needed to. Zimbabwe was an incredible little country in that it had to be so resourceful because of sanctions and everything put on it. We had to come up with plans, you know. All of our men, younger men, were in the army. The women ended up having to run the country and do all the jobs and cover up, cover all the workload and everything. So we all became very resourceful. But it was in those hard times we had these things, these connections that we made. Lots and lots of people are beautiful Christians today, beautiful believers that have shared their lives with so many because of that time, Yeah, so it's a good place to be in, is to be weak and in need of someone that will come along and sustain you, that you can trust and that's not going to fail you. And I think through the journeys that we've had, I've really learned that. And I can say today, I'm not afraid to die. I don't have any fear, because I just know that I know it's all going to be okay. It's going to be good. It's going to be really good.
It's going to be way more than we can even imagine.
Yeah, it's a nice place to be, actually. It's a nice...
I'm a bit obsessed with those near-death experiences that people recount.
Yes.
And there's so many of them have really similar themes, which really confirms to me that it is real. They're real experiences.
I've listened to scientists proving all of that as well, about what happens in the brain and everything.
They can't prove all of it, though. Because there's things like where they go up to the ceiling and they'll come back and they'll tell exactly what happened, and you were wearing this, and the people are just like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, but just those accounts just make me go, and my soul, when I hear those things, my soul just goes, yep. You
want to fly?
Yep.
I want to fly.
I mean, it's going to be, I think it's just going to be incredible. It's all the things that if you're in touch with your spirit just goes, that's what I'm waiting for. That's what I've been waiting for.
So going back to that question you asked about, what would you have changed? I think if I had known some of those things then, I would have just been a lot more relaxed. I'm quite an intense person. And I think that I would have relaxed more. I probably would have been a lot more chilled.
But it's this beautiful, it's a funny thing, because God says for us to rely on him. But in that he says we can do all things. So, you're telling stories of, I was relying on God, but that didn't mean not doing anything. That was you said, I've brought all that I can give. Now you please provide the bit that I can't provide.
Oh, you showed me up, hey?
Yeah. You're like, geez, I should have relied on you for all of it less than before.
You wonder if that's where you should be, but I'm very happy to work alongside.
Yeah.
I want to give my best too. I don't want to just be a hippie Christian.
No. But I don't think that's what God calls us to. I think individuals are at different places as individuals as to how much they know they can contribute or feel they can some people, I think everyone can give a lot. Even just in our own humanness, I think we all have a huge capacity, because people prove that all the time. But your realization of your capacity will be at different levels.
Yeah.
And even the weakest, I think God can really, wherever you rely on him, he's gonna boost you. And
I just look at your life.
Potential.
I look at how much in capacity you've grown hugely. I mean, I just marvel. I honestly, I just marvel. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Really am.
But you want to talk about weakness. I literally go through my day going, not for everything. I'm actually now just learning to kind of just go with it. But I literally go through the day and go, dinner. I don't really I don't naturally love sorting out dinner. Geez, I haven't perfectly planned this month, because before I was actually a bit more organized than I have been recently. But I just go, so God, what should I make for dinner? And he literally gives me a plan. And I go, great, cool, we'll do that. And just go and do it. It's kind of, it gets that basic for me. Not that I couldn't figure something out, but I'm just, it's also a practice just to go, if I say that I'm surrendered to you, then I'm going to be surrendered to you. Obviously, there's a side of me that loves that, because it means I don't have to scrape and scrounge, and, I just go okay, I'm going to rely on you totally. I'm going to see what that looks like. And to be honest, I've had quite an amazing experience with it.
Yeah, it is. It's like, should we actually just be completely reliant?
I'm starting to think so, because I don't know, for myself, I'm naturally a little cautious and I like things to be in order and perfect before I do it, which is quite a silly thing, because was it Bonnie's? Yes, Bonnie's little daily encouragement the other day. She said, perfectionism is just a disguise for insecurity.
Yeah.
Which
I
is
thought that was
true.
brilliant.
I thought that was awesome because I was like, that is so true. I said, so much of my life, it's like, no, it's not ready yet. No, the truth is, you're just too embarrassed or self-conscious to put it out there. And I was just like, wow. So I've been challenging myself. Like even the other night, I just sent her this, because I said to her like, oh, I've brought up my guitar every now and again. I'm doing little songs on my own.
Good.
I should send you something. Thinking, oh, no, I shouldn't send you anything.
And she challenged
So the
you.
other night, just like in the mode of not being so precious and self-conscious about stuff, I just sent her a quick little like song that I'd been singing.
Good.
Just literally to challenge myself to not get all self-conscious and make it about me. So I'm like really working towards that. Because at the end of the day, if we're surrendered to Him, and when we die, it will be totally to and for Him. He's going to go, what did you do with what I gave you? If I'm living for anything other than for Him, it's wrong. It's so wrong. And I can get, because I tend to be a little bit cautious and I can get self-conscious and stuff, I can definitely get caught up in like, what do people think or what? And I'm just like, it's so empty. All of that, it just is so worthless and so empty.
Yeah.
And if I follow Him and I worry about what He wants from me and I listen to Him, then I'm going to live out this life as fully as He intended it to be. If I'm worried about what people think, I'm going to go off over here, I'm going to go over here, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to worry, I'm going to stress, I'm going to become something I'm not.
Or you won't become what you should.
That's what, yeah. You're going to end up small in your little puddle where there's a whole river over here that you could have jumped into.
And it's all perspective, really, because you think, oh, what do they think about me? You don't know what they really think about you.
Most of the time, you have no idea what people think about you.
And, yeah, so it's just, that's a waste of time.
It's also just demonic. Like,
it's a waste of
that
time.
voice in listening to what do they is literally just limitation. It's just stay small. We don't want your light out there. Stay small.
Yeah.
It's like that little song, hide it under a bushel. No. I'm gonna let it shine.
Oh, that.
Let it shine. It's just like anything that makes you hide or get small is very demonic at the end of the day.
It's lifeless, eh?
Yeah. I mean, it's you have to work that process out to becoming what you are and who you are, but you definitely have to learn to stop listening to that, to the smallness.
I think that's where intimacy with God brings you as well, is that you start to realize who you are, and when He starts to show you things, you realize, hey, and He says to you, I want you to do this, I want you to pick that up. You think, who, me? And you stop thinking so small, and you start becoming what you're supposed to be or what you're supposed to do.
And when you see His provision, you start going, well, if you're the provider and you've called me to do this, then I don't have to be worried that I can't provide that because I'm not my provider.
That's right.
I can step out and I can go, okay, you told me to step out, so where are the resources? Cool.
Yeah. It's exciting.
It's cool.
I mean, the very first podcast that Dad and I did was about buying a house. And we had 2,000 Rand in the bank account because we were in South Africa. And that's exactly it. It's because you're not thinking, well, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
It's, okay, God, I believe you've told me to buy a house today. I'm going to go buy a house. And I know we don't have any money, but that's okay because you said it.
Yeah.
So we did. We went and bought a house with 2,000 Rand. And it was all paid and sorted out, and just an amazing ways that all came to be. And that's an exciting life. That's an exciting life.
That's where you start getting into the big stuff.
Yeah.
Because how can you be big if you don't believe in the ability of a big God on your behalf?
Yeah.
If it's all about you, then you've got to be in the perfect place at the perfect time in the perfect schedule and when's that going to happen?
You just got to get yourself free from all of that expectation and people's expectations and words that are said over you. You've got to get rid of all of that and actually just be about His business.
That's even why I push myself to even do podcasts. This is something that naturally makes me nervous. But I just feel in my spirit, no, just do it. Just do it. Just purely for the sake of experience, go do it. Even if you get up there and it's totally rubbish, just go do it.
I'm only doing it because I get asked to do it. So
Yeah. No, I mean, I did it initially because the guys were like, hey, we need someone to do it. So I just thought, but I get this little, now the more and more I walk with the Holy Spirit and I walk with God, I just get these little promptings. No, just do it. Don't think about it. Just do it.
It's good.
In the time, the answers will come. You don't need to plan it out. Just go do it.
And you know what's so great about having that attitude is that when you fail, I've got lots of failures in my life, but when I have failed, I've learned. And that's a great place to be. I don't really care what people think. You know,
No,
I
you
really don't. You know that.
That's what I like about you.
But because I want to do what I want to do, and I want to do it my best. And I'll give anything a go. As long as it's not going to break my neck.
Yeah.
But, I'll try. I'll just try. You know?
I love that attitude that you have, that it's just like the aim is, I'm just going to do my best. It's not about whether it's perfect or not, or if it's beautiful. It's that I'm going to give it my best shot in this situation to provide what's needed. And that's the attitude of Christ, I think, at the end of the day.
It's a very freeing attitude. And you get people around you that try and hold you back and try and push you down and try and, squeeze you back into a box. But once you're out the box, you can't go back.
And people that do that, that's a reflection of where they're at.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because those little demons come out.
Yeah.
They feel irked. They go, who do they think they are?
That's it.
Because I feel small and I feel limited, and how, they're not doing it perfectly because they've got all their insecurity. I mean, I've been there. I've been that person. I might have not vocalized it, but I've definitely felt that before. And that's just your rubbish coming out.
It must be very interesting being married to Seamus.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's another one. He's not in a box.
Oh, no.
Never was in a box. In fact, I think it was Seamus that taught me a lot about getting out the box.
No, you can't put that one in a box.
No.
Which is fantastic.
He's hilarious.
We have had such a good time because this last, I think we're coming up to a month now, we're doing school together.
How is that working?
So well.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's literally like Dad, Seamus, and I teaching the 7 kids at SKE.
I know Dad loves it.
It's been awesome. But it's precisely awesome in that Seamus doesn't go, okay, so we are going to teach this objective and we're going to because I would hate that. It's funny, like I'm a bit perfectionisty, but I'm terrible with a dead plan. Like I just get feeling, or like too much, like this high expectation. And Seamus is literally, I mean, like we're doing all the work, we're getting through it all, but I come to school and like, I don't really know what we're doing. Like I do, like we've got a book, we're following a book, but there's not like so today our objective, it's none of this, it's not stuffy or sterile, or it's very free flowing. Which has been awesome. And it's so good to work together and to be a team and to be productive together.
We're a good team, aren't we?
Yeah.
We are a good team, all of us.
I love that. I get to the end of the day and I just go like, all we did today was we worked together and we worked for our kids and we taught them and we did our best and we had fun and we worked hard, but it was fun work.
And the kids are loving it.
Oh, it's awesome.
They're loving it. They come up to me on the Saturdays, because you bring them to me, and they just say, Nana, we have had such fun this week. And we remember Judah was there the other day teaching me about gravity. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
I've never enjoyed school before, if I'm honest. Never. I've done it because I'm like, this is the right thing. This is what we need to do. This is what we've chosen to do. I'm going to stick to it because I've said I would. But I've always found it really stressful because it helps the kids are older as well. So there's just not as much chaos and stuff going on. But this is the first time I just go, wow, this is, we're working, but this is easy. This is just like, we just kind of go with it. And I personally enjoy an assistant role as opposed to, yesterday, I cooked cookies with the kids and that was Dad's lesson and I helped him with that. But I really love this position.
What did he do in his lesson?
So he's doing science.
Yeah.
So, baking is technically science. It's chemical reaction. And so he said, well, let's bake something. I said, cool, let's make some cookies. So that was our lesson. I just came in and brought all the stuff and we made cookies. And then we did the math lesson. But it's been really fun. And it's very just like in the flow. You just step in and you just go with it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm learning on a personal level. So for me, it's just this beautiful kind of expression of what I'm learning on a deeper level. Just go with it. And if you need help,
yeah.
ask for help.
And you're modeling that to the children.
Yeah.
So they're going to pick that up as well.
I mean, and Judah, and also I want Isaac to be very free as well, but Judah's a very free spirit. So it's all teachings within teachings of how teaching them how to flow. And, you know, if we're clamping down all the time, and this obsession with control is just so dangerous and stifling and killing, and
It is.
It's death, you know.
Yeah.
We're not called to control our lives, we're called to surrender our lives.
I think it's a real privilege. I know Dad always says, you know, he comes home and he says, I'm teaching my own grandchildren.
So cool.
He's just so blessed by that, you know.
And they love it.
Yeah, they do.
These are these are going to be such cool memories. You know?
And it builds your family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it really does build your family. We saw it when we homeschooled. It was just the best thing.
I mean, look what you did, and now look what your kids are doing. You know?
And I see the passion in all of you that we had, and it's there in all of you, and it'll be in the boys as well. You know, I don't think it's going to be too long till Sammy will be in there too. You know,
that'll be fun.
That'll be great. The cousins all together.
That'd be so cute.
Because Ryder's there as well. That's going to be really good.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Good.
It's just cool knowing exactly what they're learning, how they're learning. You know, they just have freedom as well. Like, it's just free. It's really good.
Yeah, it's amazing because you get born and put into institutions like school, and we're talking about that intimacy with God and learning to rely on Him. It takes you years to get rid of all of that institutionalized thinking into a place of freedom. And isn't it beautiful that you've got the babies now in a place of freedom? You know, where are they going to be when they get to their 20s? You know, when I think of where I was with my 20s, I was still starting to get rid of. Where are they going to be? That's exciting. That's a very exciting thing to think about.
But sometimes it seems you have to experience the institution to know the difference, in a sense. I don't know if you have to experience it, but like when we tried to put Judah into school for a year, I knew in my spirit, this isn't right. Like I never enjoyed, I was just doing it because I was like, no, but this is a good opportunity and I think this is what I'm supposed to do. But if I now look back and I register with what I was feeling on a spirit level, it was so stressful. Like it was just so, if I compare what I feel now to what I felt then, it was so stressful. Because
You wouldn't
just
do it now,
so much
though.
Never.
No.
Never.
He was so little.
And knowing that contrast, I just go, well, that's an easy gauge now. I go, that's wrong because we were, our hand, you know, we weren't given control of our own child. Like, and we weren't put in a position where we knew anything. You know, it's like the institution knows better, the professional knows better.
Yeah.
That hierarchy and that control is just like, ugh.
They do it in the hospitals too. They do it everywhere.
Oh, that's another situation. You know, you know that clamped feeling, that like you start literally getting claustrophobic on a spirit level. You're just like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope, let me out. Let me out.
It's good to live in freedom. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But you're the oddball often. Because a lot of the world just goes, okay, yes, sir, okay, yep.
Do you think so? Or do you think they actually envy it?
Well, we were just talking, there's so many parents now that are complaining about school.
Yeah.
They're doing all the online lessons. But Seamus and I were talking, we're like, they'll complain until they're blue in the face.
But do nothing.
But it's not their priority.
But it's also because people don't know any different.
Yeah. But I'm saying the priority is make money. So when the priority is make money, the job, it's not like they would actually change their job in order to facilitate their children to teach them differently. It's like, no, we will do this and we will just put up with this. And we will just complain about it and suffer under it because this is just what we need to do and this is what everyone else is doing and this is what we know, and you just, you know. And I don't judge people for it because I understand that some people are under serious financial pressure and they really do think this is the only way to do this. But at the end of the day, it is a choice what you live in.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean,
what you live under.
We had situations where the reason why we never had money was because I never not made money. I always brought money in some form or another. I used to teach pottery lessons. I used to do fabric painting courses. I did all that kind of thing, and had people in my home learning. Always made money, and sometimes I made really good money, but my priority was my children, and I knew that God had shown that to me so clearly, that my children were my priority. Now, whether it is that for everybody, I don't know, but it definitely was for me, and they came first. It was our marriage and our children. And honestly, we never lacked for anything.
Yeah.
Nothing. And that was a sacrifice. It was a sacrifice not to go to work and not to have that extra bit and not have, skybox and not have fancy holidays and not have the latest clothes and whatever. But you know what? We never lacked anything.
But you were rich. Because
Very
you can
rich.
have all that stuff and
Very
have nothing.
rich.
I mean,
we had a beautiful home. We were all clothed. We had good food.
But you had
really
more than
good
that.
food. We had everything.
Yeah. But I mean, you had good relationships.
Our relationships
You had
were very tight.
intimacy within your family. You know how
Yeah.
many people don't have that?
Yeah.
And you can't buy that. You
No.
have to invest that.
No.
That is a
Yeah.
time priority. You make the right priorities. And it's the same with my family. I will always look back and go, my mom made a choice to stay home for us. And that's a big imprint
powerful.
on me.
Yeah.
I can be like, well, I didn't like this or I didn't like that, but I always know that at the end of the day, they chose us.
Isn't that an amazing?
Amazing. And even when we went back to school, she always made sure that she might work certain hours, but she would be back when we were
around
Yes.
school. Yeah, I had some really
She was
horrible
amazing.
jobs,
Yeah.
but I didn't care. The fact was that I
No.
could be there at the gate to pick my kids up. Yeah.
And they
was more
specifically
important.
made those choices to make us a priority and to try and make family.
And again-
and that goes on to me, that goes on
Yeah.
to my kids. That's an
That's
investment
right.
that goes,
That's right.
that sets a normal and a precedent in your mind that this is what we do. And this is what it looks like to build good foundations and to have good fruit in your life.
And isn't that just going back to the intimacy with God? He is a triune Godhead, and who does he put first? He puts us first. Everything he does was about us, because he loved us, and he's the parent. He's Father God. He put us first, and we are to reflect that.
And in that, you're filled. That's the crazy part. That always baffles my mind. At times I've thought, well, if I give this, I'm going to miss out. Or the truth is, the times when you are most selfless, the times when you give the most, I'm not saying you'll necessarily get all the material stuff, but God works in amazing ways to fill you up and to just give you fulfillment on a very deep level. And you get little surprises along the way, material-wise, and you don't go without. It's this
Never.
amazing thing. As you pour out, it's poured back in. But you have to create a space. It's like if you just hang on to everything and me, you will lack.
There's a
You will
huge
lack on the deepest level.
Yeah.
You will be, you will know that lack, and you will just be miserable and grumpy, and it's never enough, and no one ever does enough for me. You'll just lack, just deficit, and just bankrupt. But if you give, that river starts to flow in, and it's incredible. The provision is amazing. You never lack.
I remember because I had a wonderful mother, as you know.
Yep.
And I remember just seeing her satisfied. She was always just satisfied. And I think that's why I chose to follow what I believe God told me as well, is that he wanted me to be satisfied. And I'm so satisfied. When I look at all my kids, and I include my girls in all of that, all of you, I just feel so satisfied. I just feel so fulfilled. I could die right now and just feel like I've accomplished what I came to do because of what you're all doing, and I look at my grandsons and I just think, it's just so satisfying. It's just really good.
But that's a beautiful thing of God's provision too, is that if you really believe he's the source, then you can always give. You can always be generous.
There's always more.
'Cause it's not about
There's
you.
always more.
Yeah.
There's
It's not
never
about what
ever-
I have in my bank account.
Yeah.
It's not about what I have in my cupboard. if God is my source, then I can be as generous as he leads me to be. You know, that doesn't, like you said, that's not talking about being stupid. I don't go and do something that God hasn't called me to do. But, you know, if you're following him and he's your source.
He still provides even when you're stupid.
Yeah.
But we found that out.
But I think often if you're in line with him and you're listening to him, it will never be a stupid, you know, of course we make stupid decisions, but I think he could even tell you to do something that looks stupid, but there's a very
there's a very good reason behind it. Yeah, exactly.
And that's exciting to me, you know, like I sometimes am like, hey, tell me to do something stupid. Come on.
Really?
Not really, but it excites me to go like what should I give something really, like tell me to give something that's a bit difficult, like something, I don't know. It would be exciting to be able to give something really big or really, that's a little bit like.
A test for you.
Yeah, like a test. Yeah. I don't, it doesn't happen often to me, maybe because at this point I don't have a ton of material things to give away, but it's a little, I know in the future, I think more and more that will happen. You know, that's exciting because you never lack. If God makes you give something, then you're like, cool, like what's the, not that you're doing it for provision, but there is that, like, if something goes out, something's going to come in, and it's like, well, what's the next thing? It's like a cool little game.
I remember I think we'd had all 3 boys at this stage, and I started to get an understanding of that whole thing of the, you know, give and it shall be given back and that kind of thing. And I was starting to read scripture about all of that, and I thought, this is working. And you know, God says, you know, but in Malachi, I think it's test me in this. And I sort of thought, okay, test it. And I started to give things. And even when when I was in a bit of lack, I was still giving and saying, well, God, have you seen that? But I think it was more my heart than what I was actually doing. Yes. It was, you know, hey, are you there? Can you? And so I started experimenting with little boys. I had little boys and I was experimenting in all of this. And I remember the one day Keith came home and I think he'd just earned a big bonus or something, and he was really excited about this bonus. And I said to him, who can we give it to? And he was like, what? I've just earned this. We can go and get something that we've been needing. You know, what are you doing? And I said, well, you know what I'm discovering, Keith?
He's like, shut up, Siobhan.
I said to him, you know what I'm discovering? The quicker we get rid of it and make it and put it in like the river that flows, then he can give us more. And he just looked at me.
It's like,
now, these are memory. I've never forgotten that look. He just thought, you idiot. But as we've grown, you know, from those years, we've both realized, actually, you put things in that flow, and it does come back.
Yeah.
And it actually does.
It's amazing.
You stop holding on to.
It is like that outpouring, inpouring. Yeah. That's what we're doing to kids at school right now. So we've got little money boxes we've made, and we've got, you know, spending, saving, giving. And we've talked to the boys a lot about this. We're like, at the end of the day, this is not our money. Who gave us our money? Like, well, you have a job and you work hard. And we're like, no, God gave us the opportunity to get that job in the first place. All this money is his. So we have to be aware that to give it is not a bad thing. And that he will, we've talked about the river. You either sit in your little puddle. I think Ryan
used to talk about sitting in
splashing
in our puddle. Yeah.
You sit in your little stinky little puddle with your $5, or you step into that river and actually, I mean, that's when the inpouring comes, you know. And so it's cool but it tests me as well because I can have a lot of kind of poverty ideas, just, you know, from your journey, and it tests me to teach them. To just say, like, no, this isn't mine. It's not yours. God will provide and he will give you everything you need, but don't get grabby with it because it was never yours in the first place. And that's actually really freeing. You know, it's like, it's not at the end of the day, it's not my job to provide for me. You know, it's not like,
interesting.
It's not down to how hard I work or how hard, you know, this striving and this, you know, make it happen. It's like, no, if he's my source, then I need to allow him to be my source. And also let go, you know, be open-handed about the things that I'm given.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Just the thought came when you were saying that, you know, about being grabby. In Zimbabwe with all the sanctions and everything, you saved everything. You kept your plastic and you folded your bags and I don't think that's a bad thing.
No.
because I think of pollution and everything today. I think those things are good to, recycle everything that you can. But there's a difference in being grabby and holding everything and being careful and having a poverty mentality. Yes. I think there is very much a difference.
And also it's also being able to be flexible within that.
Yeah.
It's great. I love being resourceful. I love having a chicken and then boiling it up and then doing this. Because I feel it's quite like accomplishing to be able to know that meal cost us pretty much nothing and we're all being fed. I mean, I love that feeling. And I don't like wasting because of how I was growing up, but also I think it's responsible. If God gives you things, you look after those resources. Because, what you do with your resources dictates, in a sense at least, what you're going to get. I'm not in a, you know what I mean? Like you honor the things that you're given. But if that resourcefulness starts limiting you and boxing you in and becoming a law, that's a problem. That's what I've noticed. That's when I get a check in my spirit. If I start getting stuck, like this is the way we've done it, and I will always do it like this, and I know I can't do that, getting fearful in it, then you have to kind of break it off and find a new way. Because I'm like talk about recycling. So like it's quite hard to recycle in Hong Kong because they don't set up bins, and other countries it's like you got your green bin and your blue bin and you can recycle everything and they come and collect it, and it's not like that here.
No.
We have bins, but those bins we're not even sure where that stuff goes, whether it just ends in the landfill. So I was being very fastidious about going through a private recycling center once a month and collecting all my stuff and separating it all up. But during COVID, they weren't collecting much. So then on my balcony, it just starts to like pile up. But I start getting this like anxiety, like I can't throw that away.
Really?
What about the environment? Because I'm quite once I form a habit, I like to stick to it. Yeah. And I like to just do it forever. It's kind of comforting. It's like, it's predictable. And I'm faithful once I get stuck in. Like, I like that. It's like, and I feel accomplished. Every time you take out these bags of recycling, you're like, I'm saving the environment. Not single-handedly, but I'm like,
the whole world did it.
Of course, but I'm like, I'm doing my bit, and I feel good about that. And there's a good side to that. Yeah. But then as time went on and my rubbish is just piling up, I'm like, can't throw it away, can't throw it away. I was like, come on, this is now getting legalistic. Like, you're not doing this now it's like becoming like an anxiety, like a fear. So I'm like, we're going to throw away our recycling now because it's just not the right time.
It doesn't feel good though, does it?
It doesn't. I as much as I could. I mean, I hate going to the beach. When we go to the beach and there's stuff on the beach, I pick it all up. I can't help it because growing up in Canada, you never, we're very proud of our natural beauty and blah, 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 blah. We never threw anything on the ground. That was very deeply ingrained. So when I go to the beach here and they've got this beautiful beach and there's plastic everywhere, I have to do at least one run. I get my bag, I find a bag and I just go up and down the beach. I get all my plastic. My kids have seen me do it. And I look like a bit of a crazy lady, and I put it in the bin, and I'm like, I've done my bit. I've done my bit, because that irks me. Yeah. It's like, and if it bothers me, then I should do something about it. Not just it's not just me being legalistic. It kills me on a fundamental level, because I love nature. And, we got to look after this thing. Got to steward what we've been given.
I agree, we should.
It
would be nice if everybody.
It would be lovely, but it always comes back to me, that analogy of the guy on the beach with the starfish.
Yes.
It made a difference to that
one.
And it's like, I can't control what's out there, but I can control me.
Yeah.
And I can do my bit and my job. And that's all I'm called to do.
Just talking a bit about feeling good. Have you ever studied the Proverbs 31, Proverbs 31?
I haven't studied it, but I've read very nice translations that kind of paint it out very clearly, which I really like.
I was quite young and I started to read. I got a hold of that Proverbs 31.
It's powerful.
It is so powerful. But the part that I remembered when you were talking there was that she finds a bargain, and I used to think, so it's actually biblical to find
love a bargain. But you feel so accomplished, don't you?
Yeah.
You
absolutely.
I found a discount, and then I made this whole meal out of it, and that fed us, and that cost like $50 or whatever it is, And
but the problem with me is that I found bargains and overspent
Yeah, did you?
Because
I found 30 bargains.
it was a bargain, so I bought 10 of them, and we didn't need them all.
And they're all hoarded up in your cupboard. Yeah.
So my husband had to point that little bit out to me.
Yeah.
I wasn't a great spender, but yeah, I can spend if I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that bit about bargains, that was so funny.
Yeah. But I don't like.
You're very good with money.
I'm good with money. I mean, to be honest, now that we earn more than, we earn fine, like we're fine. I definitely make a point to buy good quality though. I definitely have upped it in certain things because I'll do my research about where this food came from or what this is in this, and I get a little bit. I'm concerned a little bit about it. I at least want to know I've done my best. I know I can't control everything.
I love that you do it because I learn from you as well, and I benefit from.
Especially like being here, like people can't raise their own meat. They can't. It's just not a possibility. So you can only do your best, But I'm interested in nutrition and all that kind of stuff. So I like looking into that and getting the best price I can for a decent cut of meat. And
that makes you feel good.
Yeah, I'm like, I've done my best in that area.
You're being a woman. That's what a woman's supposed to do.
Yeah, I like that stuff.
Me too.
Yeah,
I love
but it's like you said, it's you go to bed at the end of the day and I've done my best.
Done my best. I've served my family well.
Yeah.
I've served my children. I've found the bargains. I've dressed them in purple, Yeah, I've risen up early in the morning and I've gone to sleep at night. My fingers have been busy all day. Yeah.
And I don't have a manicure because I wash too many dishes. And that's all right.
Yeah, so I think maybe we should end on that note.
End on that note. Do your best.
Do our best. Go and read Proverbs 31. A brilliant proverb, especially if you're a woman.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Should we just carry on?
That was good. That was fun. It always turns out fine, these podcasts. I always go into them going, I'm not super prepared. This could go terribly wrong, but I just surrender to it and just go, meh.
The funny thing was, did we even look at one of your questions?
The only question I asked was, if you could give yourself some advice at that age, what would you give? But that wasn't even exactly what I'd written there. That's perfect. It's great. It's a good little chat. I enjoyed that.
Nice to get together and have a little chat together.
You get closed in a room, the door's shut.
No one's
there's
here.
No
we can
noise.
just talk.
I love it that they left. Because anyone else in the room, you do feel that added level of kind of like performance. Like, there's someone else here, so we gotta nail this.
It's been a long time since you and I have been able to just sit and just chat.
Fantastic.
That's what I felt like we were doing. Good old Norm.
What a good excuse. I'm like, look after the kids because I've got to do a podcast. Truth is, I get to just chat with Mum for an hour. That's good though. I enjoyed that. I think that's some good content.
Go back and have a listen. I can't remember all the things we spoke about.
No. But stories are interesting. Because everybody has a slightly different story.
Yeah.
People's lives are fascinating. Even if I don't know them, if they can tell you a half-decent story, I'll listen. It's really cool.
It's nice to dip back. Jaden was saying to me, it's doing a podcast is like therapy.
It is.
And I didn't understand that. And I've just thought today when we were talking about, being in that hotel room and all the things started to come back to me, and I thought, wow, I remember that. I remember that being so significant. I remember this. And it's like therapy.
So I marvel at stuff like that. Because I just go, wow. I mean, I also understand that at the time you're just doing what you got to do at the time. Like, and in some ways it's nice. You've been set up in a hotel. That's quite easy in a sense. You've got room cleaning, right?
Yes.
But that gets old after 6 weeks for sure.
3 days maybe.
Because you just want to get into your own home, and you want to get, especially with young babies, you just want to.
I wanted my routine, and I wanted to eat when we wanted to eat, not when they said dinner
at your table and it's like being on eternal holiday without wanting forced holiday.
But it was very. I don't think I don't know. Could you imagine trying to cope with a new home, and the 2 babies, and I'm on my own?
That's a lot.
That would have been tough.
So you were waiting to find a home? What was
we had to move. He had to start the job. He had to learn the job, and then we had to look for a house.
That's a lot at once. especially with young kids.
So you were
that
just
is a
dumped, literally,
lot.
bump, and off you went.
Yeah, because he had to just start working.
And he struggled too.
Of course.
You know, he was very aware that he was leaving us behind.
Yeah.
And I was,
But what in that situation, it's like, well, you're safe.
yeah.
You're in a hotel.
No mobile phones.
No.
There was no contact or anything.
But at least in his mind, it's like you're in a secure place.
I was in a place where I could call for help if I needed it.
And I need to start working, so,
it's
no
tough.
one's in physical danger, or so we just get on with it. And like you said, you're young, so you just do it. And there's a beautiful naivety about being young. It's terrible and really good, because you will just kind of do stuff because you don't know what you're doing.
Had no clue.
You just go, okay, la 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 la, la 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 la, doof. Ouch, la la la. Keep going. Like a little kid with shoes that are too big. La 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 la, doof. Ow! Don't think to change the shoes. Just keep going.
I was naive though. I was naive.
I've had many situations like that.
Just didn't know what I was doing. Bit of a dozy dog.
Well, I was stupid. I mean, it was God's call, but like I left country at 19. Just bye. And I had my first boyfriend turn to me and go, "How can you do this? You're leaving your family?" I went, "Yeah." La 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 la. 2 months later, had such a meltdown.
It's good though. It's
How do
hard.
you grow? How do
know?
you grow otherwise? It's the hard stuff that does the most growing in you.
And it's a funny thing, I remember when Sean came to Hong Kong, Bonnie used to say to him, because they'd started to be friends and everything at that stage, and she said to him, I don't know if she said it to him, but she said to me, she just thought he was such a mommy's boy, because I'd call him every day. But the reason I called him every day was because you want them to know that you're there, even though you're not there. It's like having God there to speak to, that you're not alone. You're doing it crazy, but you're not alone. Yeah. You're still loved. We're still here. We'll still bail you out if you need it. And I think that gives people courage. It does. It gives people courage.
See, I definitely, it's not that my parents did that to me, but I had a mentality that once I went, I'm on my own. And that created a lot of anxiety. But I didn't make an effort. Seamus and I have talked about this recently. I didn't make an effort to contact them, but they also wouldn't push to contact me, because it was like they would kind of do things according to how you were reacting. So if you pushed, they would back off. And I thought, okay, now I've left, like this is my response, like it's on me now. And that was that whole process.
My
of
boys
learning
probably
to
would love
trust
that
God.
if I ever did that.
No, but
because I just push in anyway.
There's two extremes.
Yeah.
There's too much pushing in, and there's too little pushing in. We actually just had a big chat about this recently, that I kind of grew up with this idea that even though I was terrible at managing my own life, it's not like I was even good at it. That's the amazing part. I was so shit at managing myself, and yet I felt this pressure that I needed to just be independent and manage myself and do it myself. Because at points in life when issues came up, it was too much for them. They couldn't handle it, really. So I kind of got this thing like, nah, like the adults in my life can't handle big stuff very well. Oh,
wow.
So I gotta, even though I don't feel adequate to deal with some stuff, I'll just keep it to myself, look after myself.
See, you're saying this now, I need to be independent. We need, there's an age where you need to be independent. I think that's a lot of rubbish.
Probably.
Because I think you grow your children to be independent, but not independent from help or from family or from needing people around them. Because actually having people around you is a healthy thing. It's a good thing. So I've got a very different approach on that. I think you grow them up to be self-supporting and to be responsible, but not independent.
No, I don't, because it turns into isolation, which is not a good thing.
Which is not a good thing.
No. And it's very unhealthy because you don't learn to share properly, or you get precious about things because nobody calls your bullshit or exposes you. Or like I used to feel so offended all the time because he would just be like, that thing, and you'd just be like, like devastated.
It's amazing
I'm
you
getting
even
over
made
it.
it, you two.
I'm getting over it, but I still get annoyed. I'll just stay quiet. Just like, shut up. So like even like we had some chat about a couple situations in my life that I found quite traumatic at the time, like not huge things, but and then like 5 minutes later he'll just make a big joke about it, and you're just like, really? We just talked about that anyway. So.
But the guys, they're tough, eh?
He's funny though.
They're tough.
He's
haven't
very
had no
good for
option
me.
but to toughen up.
Yes, he's
And
good for
I'm
me.
glad for that too. I look at some women who've never been toughened up. And I just think you need to get over yourself, woman.
That's why I'm glad. I mean, having brothers, at least I developed a sense of humor
Yeah.
because they were funny
Yeah.
and they were always hitting each other, and like
I
was
grew up
never
with
wussy.
girls. I mean, I had
was
a
never
brother, but
wussy.
he was much older. And I had girls, and I had a lot of emotional growing up to do.
Because like Seamus gets nervous with me because I'll be the one jumping in the tree, climbing to the top, and he's like,
Yes,
"What are you doing?"
yes, I've seen that.
I'll be jumping over rocks, and because that's how I grew up. I don't have fear about that kind of stuff, and he'll be like, "Whoa!" Like just.
Yeah, but you're his
Like-
wife. You're not just
funny,
you're
though.
not just one of the boys now.
No, but I still, that's very much, I mean, thank God I'm like that though, because if I wasn't like that, Judah would suffer big time.
Yeah.
If I was prissy and like, oh,
You're very good with Judah.
he would be like, he would be stifled to the max.
I love
so.
when you two go off to the mountain
Love it.
because I can see Judah just comes alive.
And I know when to let him try things and when to pull him back. He hasn't had too many major accidents, so I think I've done okay. He fell into a ditch once, but it was okay.
I know you still haven't told
But
me
usually
about
I
that.
don't freak. Even if something happens, I won't panic. I'll just go and pull them out. So, because I don't want them to be afraid.
To be fearful.
I don't want them to be fearful, but I want them. But I don't want to be stupid. But I will just get them out. Oh, you're bleeding. Okay, let's go.
Yeah,
But
you're
I'm not
very
like
good like that.
because I know that I also like the way Judah is. If you panic, like he's already panicking to the nines.
He's so sweet. Oh, he's so
Blood.
sweet. Blood.
See,
I love
feel
how he
like that
says
though.
it. My blood.
Now Ike freaks out about blood just because Judah freaks out about blood. I'm like, there's plenty inside there. You're right. Because I just go, oh no, it's not too deep. You're all right. We'll just go get tissue or a Band-Aid or whatever. But I'm glad because, yeah. But I've prayed very specifically. God, I don't want to do the stitches thing. I don't want to do I'm very specific. I don't want broken bones. I'm not going to be fearful. I'm not going to not let them do everything. But I said, especially when they're little. When they're older, it's a little easier to handle, because if I got stitches when I was older, at least you understand what's going on.
Yeah.
When they're little and they have to like straight jacket them and they scream their lungs out, I mean, it's just trauma. There's nothing except trauma. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Not happening.
Yeah, so I think maybe we should end on that note. We'll see you again next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.